Can't we at least sell this some other way?
Yep, that's me. Now, you're probably wondering how I got here, and it's a pretty long story, so let's start from the beginning. Alright, here we go. This bottle's empty. Alright. In 3, 2, 1. Hello guys, BOBMAN Zero for the win here, and today we are talking about the Gerudo with game, the swine with style, the giant murderous pig. Okay, yeah, we're talking about Ganon here. Now, I know, why Ganon of all characters? But in my opinion, Ganon has one of the most interesting lores out of anyone in the Zelda universe. Except maybe like Tingle or something. People will not shut up about his lore. Anyways, let's begin. Anyways, let's begin. Alright, first things first, his design. Or designs? Yeah, Ganon changes form a lot between Zelda games, but I'm just going to focus on two forms. The original Boar Ganon and his Gerudo form, Ganondorf. I would do Calamity Ganon, but come on, it's just an unfinished version of Ganon. There's not really anything I can add to it. Not saying we won't talk about Calamity Ganon whatsoever though. He's got a big part in Ganon's history, so we'll talk about him later. Alright, so I guess we should start off with Ganon's boar design. Let's just look up some articles and... oh. Yeah, believe it or not, back in the 80s, not too many people were interviewing other people on video games and putting those interviews out on the internet 30 years later. So, we're going to have to do a little guesswork on this part, but I think I have a solid idea of why Ganon was created as a pig. So, let's get started. Okay. So since we have no direct source to tell us why Ganon was made as a pig, we gotta look into the mind of the man who created him, Mr. Shigeru Miyamoto. So I looked at every game Miyamoto created and I noticed a pattern with every villain. All of them are just some giant monster. Now, that's not too surprising to many people. Of course they're big. Almost every bad guy in the media is big. Just think Godzilla or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Weird examples, but I guess you have a point. Back then, it wasn't too out of the norm for there to be some giant monster as the bad guy. And it would make sense for Miyamoto to create a giant monster back then too. Since the NES was such limited hardware, the only way to make something look evil or scary was to just make them big. But if limited hardware was the only reason those enemies were so big back then why does Miyamoto always stay persistent on the giant monster mentality? Just look at Pikmin, a quote-unquote more recent game that Miyamoto created. Literally the whole mentality behind the game is that you're the small man surrounded by giant monsters that are just trying to eat you. And this was made in a time frame where more people strayed away from the generic giant monster bad guys and tried to focus on more down-to-earth relatable characters. Which was actually already done with Ganondorf back in Ocarina of Time thanks to the character designer Satoru Takezawa. And funny enough, Miyamoto actually wasn't fully on board with the idea of Ganondorf and him being a more human-like character. I feel like Miyamoto doesn't want some villain that has some in-depth evil motive that makes you fear him. He wants simplicity. He wants people to see the enemy and go, "Holy mother of tingle, what the heck did I just walk into?" So, now we have more of an idea of why Ganon is the giant blue boar. But just one more question. Why a boar of all things? He could have chosen any animal, but he chose a boar. Well, actually, a YouTuber named VG Elucidator made a really good video on this question that I highly recommend watching. But I'm just going to summarize what he said. Pigs are bad. No one likes pigs. They're greedy and will eat all your corn if you leave them out in the open. Also, because in Japanese culture, boars are viewed as fearsome and reckless, but that's not important. Okay, maybe it is a little. Anyways, the description fits the bill for Ganon pretty well. He's a reckless monster full of greed and wants to control all of Hyrule. Man, Nintendo knows how to make a pig. Okay, but now what about Ganondorf? Why is he a Gerudo of all things? Because Gerudos were the most human-like characters in The Legend of Zelda at the time? Well, except maybe Hylians. But why does he have to be human-like? Why can't he be any other species? Why not Rito Ganon, or Goron Ganon, or even Deku Ganon? Well, that's because... Shut up, kid, I know this one. This is most likely because Gerudos fit Ganondorf's personality pretty well. They're strong, fierce individuals and are also pretty smart. And other species aren't as fearsome as Gerudos. Heck, if you walk into their town and they don't want you there, they'll throw you out. They don't care. You could have saved the entire world from destruction, but nope, not good enough for them. Get out. In Ocarina of Time, instead of just having people guard their only bridge to their village, they just found it easier to completely destroy the bridge. But if you walk into Goron City, they're like, "Hey pal, could you help me move this rock? My back's been aching me all day." Alright, now for the question, why is Ganon the way he is? Why is he the embodiment of all of evil and wants to rule the world? Now, I could just say, it's because he's the villain, but that wouldn't be as fun, would it? Now, first off, I don't believe Ganondorf is the embodiment of evil. I feel like he has a lot more to him than that. But Ganon, that's a pretty spot-on title for him. And yes, I know they're the same character, but they're different in many ways, so I'm going to address them differently. Anyways, to figure out this information, I would need to actually know a lot about Ganon's character in-game. The problem with that is I've barely played any Legend of Zelda games. I know, why the heck are you making a Zelda video if you barely played any of the games? But don't worry, I have a plan B. What's better than being a walking Legend of Zelda encyclopedia? Having a walking Legend of Zelda encyclopedia. Well, this one can't walk, but it'll work. It has all the answers I need involving the Legend of Zelda. Seriously, ask me any Legend of Zelda related question and within 5 to 10 minutes, I can give you the answer. And don't worry, for you guys that are a little skeptical about this, Nintendo did help make this, which means everything in here is most likely canon. So shut up. So, I guess we should start with the creation of Ganon. Yeah. So, in The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, apparently there was a character named Demise who was the Demon King. What a title. After Link defeated him, with his final breath, he vowed hatred and the curse of the demon tribe will reborn in a cycle without end as it evolves. Now, what does that mean exactly? Many people believe it's referring to Ganondorf being Demise's hatred that is being reborn over and over again. Which would make sense, since no matter how many times Link defeats him, he's reborn again, ready to bring a blood-soaked sea of darkness upon Hyrule. It would also explain why Ganon is so evil. He's literally the incarnation of the hatred of the Demon King. You can't get much more evil than that. Unless you're like Satan himself, then maybe. But anyways, that's the case for Ganon. But Ganondorf is slightly different. We've seen him have much more emotion than just hatred. Sure, not that often, but there are pretty notable times. For example, in Wind Waker, Ganondorf didn't want the Triforce just to rule Hyrule and bring blood-soaked darkness. He wanted to give his people a better place to live. Yeah, he does kidnap and beat up children in the process, but I don't think the embodiment of evil would try to do anything nice for anyone. Well, there is a version of him that was very close to the pure embodiment of evil. Ganondorf from Ocarina of Time. That man was power hungry and wanted to be the ruler of Hyrule at any cost. He was the king of thieves. He stole, he planned to betray the king of Hyrule, and even later stole Captain Falcon's moves. Alright, we got our one mention of Smash Bros for the day. Moving on. So, why is Ganondorf so different in between those games? Most likely because Ganondorf, even though having demise is hatred, he's a person. So when Ganondorf was younger and more arrogant in Ocarina of Time, we didn't see too much more than just him being evil. But as he grew over time, he became wiser and cared more for people than he did before. Still enjoyed murdering children every once in a while, but still more heart than before. Now let's change subjects. Let's talk about Calamity Ganon, because he has a rich personality. Okay, yeah, Calamity Ganon literally doesn't talk at all and we only see him at the end of the game, but let's talk about him anyways. Okay, so we can't learn anything about him from what he says, but do you guys remember what your annoying 8th grade English teacher always says? Show, don't tell. Except instead of talking about the old man in the sea, we're talking about a Zelda game. So, let's look at Calamity Ganon's actions to see if we can get a personality out of him. Okay, to recap. Calamity Ganon kills all the champions and corrupts the divine beast by creating 4 different phantoms of himself to kill each of the champions. While Calamity Ganon himself enjoys totaling everything in sight and taking the only protection the Hylians had and using them against them. Sorry, I had to get that out of my system there. Okay, so now why did I tell you that? Because this shows Calamity Ganon has both Ganondorf's smarts and Ganon's strength at the same time, meaning that Calamity Ganon could be said to be one of the strongest versions of Ganon. He is the only Ganon that was able to defeat Link. The only reason that Ganon was easily defeated by Link 100 years later is because he wasn't fully reincarnated. But let me tell you, we probably should have waited for him, because instead of fighting an epic, cool-looking Ganon, we just go in there and fight this mutated spider demon. What the heck is that? Ganon, you couldn't have stuck to the pig form. Anyways, after defeating Calamity Ganon, we get another form of Ganon. Don't worry, this one's a little quicker. Ganon gives up his power to reincarnate so he can become even more powerful, turning into Dark Beast Ganon, which has existed before in Twilight Princess. But this time, he's huge and amazing looking. Freaking look at him. Why did we have the spider thing to fight first? Look at you. You're beautiful. You're beautiful, Ganon. This is what we wanted. Why do you need to reincarnate when you look amazing this first time? I'm getting off track. Anyways, in Dark Beast Ganon form, he becomes the truest form of evil. Ganon already is a mindless rampaging boar, but this is Ganon times 10 here. He is a savage beast that has no other desires but to kill and destroy. And let me tell ya, he is powerful. The only way you can damage him is with the legendary weapons like the Bow of Light or Twilight Bow, which are apparently the same thing, but I guess they're different somehow. Whatever. After you get these weapons, I guess he's pretty easy to beat, but it still proves he's stronger than any other Ganon. Anyways, I believe that's all the Ganon, so now that we know his origin, how did we get to where we are now? Well, after the first Legend of Zelda game doing well, the creators shook things up with the next entry, Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. Yeah, this game didn't do well. So the Zelda team went back to what worked the first time, bringing our old big pig back for another round, but also with another villain called Aghanim, which some would say was the more prominent villain in the game, since you see him for most of the time. But don't worry, old Blue Eggs and Ham over here still gets his time to shine at the end. And I just want to say, the battle against Ganon looks so much better than the NES Ganon fight. Like, come on, what's even happening during this fight? Anyway, so after A Link to the Past became one of the most beloved games of all time, it was time for a system upgrade, which means Legend of Zelda got an upgrade, which means Ganon got an upgrade, which means, well, I'll tell you. You remember earlier on in this video where I mentioned that video games were creating more relatable characters? So yeah, that's what happened with Ganon turning into Ganondorf, a character with a decent backstory, relatable motives, and an actual freaking personality. And after this new Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, was another critical success, it was clear Ganon, or Ganondorf, was here to stay. So anyways guys, that was the unknown origin of Ganon. This was a pretty interesting video to make, and I gotta say, it came out pretty well. So, thank you guys for watching. That is all it. First of all, why are you here? Second of all, what? I didn't say your Gerudo form was weak, I just said the boar form was stronger. What about Bowser? Majora? Majora could hurtle a moon towards Hyrule at any second. No. This is a horrible transition. Can I at least put a jacket on or something first? You know, you really gotta learn how to talk things out once in a while. Alright, we're good to go.
Can't we at least settle this some other way? Can I at least have some sort of weapon? Okay then.
Are you guys done yet?